Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked Fly Fly Fishing, and today we're going to tie a tube fly version of the little brown trout. Now this is what a little brown trout looks like tied on a hook. It's a very nice pattern. I've caught a lot of fish on little brown trout. As I said before in one of my earlier videos, this was one of my, if not the first really productive streamer that I used for brown trout. I'd caught other fish, smallmouth bass primarily, and other streamers. But when I went fishing for trout, the little brown trout was the one to use. So let's look at materials. I've got in the vise, I've got a 3/32 diameter, 1.5 inch long aluminum tube. I've covered it with heat shrink except for the bit at the front, and this allows me to put a tail on and not have it be kicked out by the junction tube when I add it. I'm going to be using black thread in a 6/0. My tail is brown schlappen. My rib is Uni French medium gold. My body is Uni Yarn in white. And I'm going to be using 3 bucktails, orange, yellow, and brown. So let's get started. And just start at the beginning of the tube where the junction tubing starts, and I'm just going to quickly bring my thread to the back like this, because we're going to put the tail on and then we're going to come forward and put the rest on. Give us a nice good tail here, be generous with it. And bring it back. Don't jam it right into the vise though, because that will create a kink in it, which we don't want. The whole purpose of using this junction tubing on the tube while we're tying is to avoid that problem. But you can see what I'm showing you here is exactly what would happen if you shove junction tubing on this tube after you've tied in the tail. Okay, next we put in our rib. Keep everything on top, wind it back to the tail. Jump forward. Now for winding on our body. Turn at the back, come forward in touching turns, try not to show any black, and we've got some black showing right there, so we'll just cover that up. Keep the turns close together. Now use the yarn to build a ramp here, because we want to have a smooth ramp for the wing, and also when we tie off our rib as well. So you can see I've created a ramp there so that we don't get that notch effect from the tubing. Okay, now we put on our rib. Again, a turn at the back. Careful not to squish your tail. Come off the ramp and finish off. I'll just pull that up on top. Alright, now we're ready for a bucktail. We're going to start with yellow first, and because we're working with 3 colors, go easy on this. Don't put tons and tons of bucktail in, because you'll end up with way too thick a wing. So you have to be proportionate here. And we're going to stack this, get rid of the short stuff, get rid of the weird looking strays. Okay, I've got a couple of odd ones here. I'm just going to pull them out. Let's just check to see how much yellow I have here. That's pretty good. I'm just pulling out the bits that are going off at weird angles. Alright, so that's about the right distance right there. We're just going to go a bit past the thread here. Pinch loop it on. Pull this up. Keep everything on top. Bind this down, and as I mentioned before, when you get close to the end, you can fill that gap up between the plastic liner and the tube, but go gentle so you don't cut your thread. So later, if you cover that with thread and you're pulling on it, you won't break your thread off. Okay, bring your thread to the back, soft wraps at the back. Now we're going to do our orange, and as I mentioned in the previous video, this particular orange is not nice. So we're going to do the best we can. Next time in the shop, I'm going to have to buy some more orange. Now we stack it. Get rid of the short bits and the bits that are sticking out at odd angles. Okay, that's about right. Pinch loop it in place. Now what you want to do is check to make sure you've got yellow showing on both sides. You notice in a lot of videos I trim off my bucktail before tying it in, but when I'm doing stacking bucktail wings one on top of the other, I will leave this tag end here on, so I can do these kinds of adjustments more easily after the fact. Once I've got it sort of pulled into place and where I want it, get the length right, get the positioning right, then I can bind it down nice and tightly, and then I can come in and trim off. So by keeping both ends of the bucktail in, I've given myself some adjustment abilities. Because if you trim it off ahead of time, it's tougher to adjust. Okay, soft wraps at the back. Okay, now for the brown. Same procedure. If you want, you can add a little bit more brown. You can make it a little bit heavier if you wanted to. My brown is not the best. A lot of my bucktails were what I call desperation purchases, where I was running out and it was the only one in the store. And you end up looking at it going, it's not good, but I'm going to have to buy it because it's all that's there. Okay, that looks about right. Pinch loop, pull up, a couple of turns. Let's check that. You want to see a little bit of orange on each side, and I do. Now I'll come in, put some turns at the back. Come forward with some tight turns. Trim off. Now we finish this off. Okay, we're ready to whip finish. And now for some UV glue. And now for some top coat. Okay, there's our little brown trout all ready to go. Very attractive little streamer. It'll work like a charm. It penetrates well, being nice and slick, and that tail that is now kicked up, as soon as I take it from the vise, it'll flatten out because of the way we tied it with the junction tubing, and this thing will fish just fine. So give it a try, the little brown trout. Cheers.